It's time to finish the game. Let's go.
Ball first and 10 at the 12-yard line of the Seahawks. Sean goes right, has a cut back lane, and he does. He's across the 20, the 25, 30, 35, 40. Here he goes. Are they going to catch him? 40, 35, 30, 25, 10, 5. Touchdown Seahawks. What a run by Sean Alexander.
Finish the game. We're gonna finish the game. Yeah. Finish the game. We're gonna finish the game. Yeah.
That's right. My favorite song is back on the air. What's happening, Claude?
Sean, what's up, man? This is the Finish the Game podcast with Sean Alexander, 2005 NFL MVP. Sean, man, what's going on? You got some good news from some of our friends, right? They're in Switzerland doing something, right?
That's right. I just talked to my good friend Mike Ferris, who's in Switzerland with Patrick Henry College, and they are world champions. They just won the world championship for moot court, which is kind of like debate. You know, they give you these court cases and they say, hey, come prove us all who would win. And
nice.
you know, and you know, these kids are, their future. You know, like I think they did the O.J. Simpson trial.
Okay.
They did the so you know what? So congratulations, Patrick Henry College. Congratulations, Mike Ferris. Gosh, you guys are doing great. Let's try to get them on the air.
Yeah, just to kind of talk about, that whole prep thing and how it was, I guess they had to win here in the U.S. first, right, before they went to Switzerland to the World Championship.
I mean, that's what we do. You know
right.
what I mean? We dominate Harvard and Yale, and then we go to Switzerland, and then, we go against Cambridge.
Purcellville's own Patrick Henry College. So, yeah, we'll get them on and see if we can talk to them about finishing that game.
Yeah.
But other than that, what's up with the summer, man? It's July. It's hot in D.C. It's hot all over the place. You've got some summer bloopers to talk about.
I do, man. We've been barbecuing almost every day. And just the other day, I got, the propane tank. I ain't got the one you click on. You know what I mean? Yeah. I give a shout out to Kendrick Burton. He helped me buy it out in Seattle, and he introduced my beautiful bride to me. And so former teammate from Bama to Seattle. And so he got me this great, well, I paid for it, but he picked out this monstrous grill, and we can cook for 40, 50, 100 people at any time. And so you turn on the propane, and then you go and you actually light it with a lighter. And so y'all got like a flamethrower lighter, and then it comes up. And it sounds real cool if you time it up right.
You got to do it right.
Well, I hit that. I hit that propane tank, and I hit all the knobs, and then I couldn't find the flamethrower. It looks like and so I run in the house. I run in the house, and I can't find it in my normal in the house spot. And so then my wife says, hey, I took it out of the flamethrower spot, and I was probably on the counter because of her birthday. Shout out, sweetie, happy birthday again. And so I go over there, and I bring it over, and I light it, and fire comes.
Gas is everywhere at this point.
I just want you to look at the difference of the hairs on this knuckle right here. You can't even see them, right?
You can't even see them.
It was quite interesting.
Well, at least it's just the hair on the knuckles, man. I mean, that could have been a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, I only did that once before, and that was many moons ago in Seattle, And I tell you, my mother-in-law, she saw the fire and she screamed, when you hear the grandmama start screaming, Well, no one was around to see this one, but it was a lot. It burned all the hairs on my knuckles. So so I guess this is fitting to lead us into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, what we're talking about today, Sean.
Preparing like a champion.
Well, because, look, we're right around the corner from training camp, man.
That's right.
There was a point in time where this would be the time where you're getting ready, you're gearing up, you're packing up, getting ready to go. And so, teams all around the NFL, man, they're gearing up for training camp. They're getting ready to prepare to try to win a Super Bowl. And, of course, how fitting for the show, Finish the Game, to spend some time talking about how we can prepare in everyday life to be champions in whatever area we want to be champs in.
I mean, you got to. I mean, don't prepare like I did for a barbecue. You know what I mean? I got everything there but the lighter to set the thing up.
Had you prepared like a champ, the lighter would have been right there before you started.
It'd have been game time, And so, no, preparing like a champion is a very interesting thing. The week, I'd say July 4th is always like a marker time for guys to kind of have their last workout right before July 4th, and then they would do. I would always have my sprint coach, Joe Gentry, I call him the Colonel. He would always come in, and we trained, we'd start in May, and then it would be him and I, 2 days, take a couple of weeks off, then we'd show up again, and we'd do something at the end of June, and then we'd do the beginning of June, end of June, And then right after everybody left for 4th of July, my 4th of Julys were never crazy fun because I knew Joe was coming in right before that. So that was going to be my last time of training hard, 2-a-days, 3-a-days. And then I would take those last 2 weeks off, and then I would head on out to Cheney for training camp. And gosh, you know, so like last week, I would say it would have been like the most enjoyable time because I knew Joe was gone and I had 2 weeks to kind of let my body rest and get ready for the grind of the season. And I think that's good. I think that every player really is enjoying it right now because it's the calm before the storm.
Right.
And there's something that's so good about it, whether you was a rookie or whether you were in college. You know, I know the Bama boys are getting ready, you know, and even as national champions, they're like, man, like we're like a couple weeks away and this thing is on. And you know, so it was always sweet. I know, like for me, when it came to preparing like a champion, I did one thing that was consistent at every level before I got there. I looked at all the record books and I started writing them all down. All right, look, this is this, you know, if I had been there before, hey, I ain't got this record, you know, and touchdowns in a game, yards in a game, touchdown in a season, broken tackles, yak yards, that's the yards after contact, you know, and I was always preparing for that. So that's how I started in May every year.
Setting goals.
What
does success look like? What do I want to accomplish here?
Yeah, you got to know where you're going to go. And so that was always like a big thing to me, was to write down the goals. And so as I was training, I would always match it up to what were my goals. Like, all right, am I really running or lifting or actually watching what I'm putting in my body to make sure I can get to these goals? And so that's how it was for football. And I tell all you husbands, all you wives, it's the same way in life. You know, like, you know, set the goal. Like, what do you want your marriage to look like? What do you want your grades to look like, y'all are in college?
Right.
What do you want
your career to look like? If you know, where do you want to go in your career? You know what I mean?
That's right. Whatever it is, like, let's get a good plan for this next year, and then we start preparing for it. And even as you're going, as you're going through the years, it's not like everybody can take a summer off of work. You know, you can't take the summer off of work to kind of go train. Okay, I'm gonna start. You know,
no, you're right. You're right.
But what you do is you set the goal, and even in that time where you're going, and you're starting to motivate yourself to get ready for the next goal. And it could be to be the best employee at that job, or it could be to eventually get a raise and have that. You can set the goal to be the best at whatever you're doing. And that's kind of how it was. I love that May through July. And then I love like that last time of training. I always ran my fastest 40 at July. I always ran my, I always lifted well in July. And then it was like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to actually get myself in football. And the colonel used to always say, Sean, we serve no wine before it's time. And I just knew, like, you know, what that means is we ain't going to just go crazy at it to make sure that I'm the best right now. I knew that by the middle of September, you didn't want to play against Sean Alexander. You know, and that was the goal. It was like, hey, I'm going to be really, really good the first game of the season, but you're going to hate me by the third game of the season. And that was the goal. It was all to prepare and all to train to get ready for this. And I just get excited for this time of year.
Yeah, you're listening to Finish the Game. I'm Claude Jennings in studio with Sean Alexander. We're talking about preparing like a champion. We talked about the first step would be setting those goals. And then after you set these goals, there's got to be some type of tangible steps towards achieving those. How can you then transfer, okay, here's my goal, to then looking at things realistically about how to, because I mean, you could say I want the records, but then at the end of the day, you still got to get up sometimes 4:45, 5:15 in the morning and start lifting and start running. How do you translate those goals into everyday steps, even whether it's career, marriage, or even sports, for those who are listening who are in sports?
You know, I think that at the end of the day, like, you got a good schedule. You know, I was just telling my kids, we always go through and we shift the schedule, and I'm still doing this even up today. And so here's my schedule. I'm gonna read off to you my schedule that started, you know, here now. It's so fresh, it's unbelievable. My kids are all fully into it. Okay, so here's the schedule. 4:30 a.m. I wake up and pray. 4:30 to 5. 5 to 5:30 I go run and go work out for 30 minutes. 5:30 to 6:30 I get back. I read my Bible, jump in the Word. 6:30 to 6:50 I'm emailing, making phone calls. 6:50 to 7:40 I'm jumping in the studio and I'm working on all the other finish the game things that we have to do. 7:40 to 8 o'clock, I'm prepping breakfast because I let my wife sleep in.
Yeah.
And then from 8 to 9, I'm doing a kids Bible study. And then from 9 to 10, everybody's eating breakfast, and I'm usually jumping on phone calls and emails.
Mm-hmm.
And then from 10 on, that's when I go do all the business stuff that I got going on. So like that's my morning.
Jeez Louise.
That's my morning.
Yeah,
and so then by the time it gets down there to the end, I like to be home and we all eat this big dinner together around 5 o'clock. And then from about 6:30 to about 7:30, it's family time. And we're playing and we're figuring out all kind of games we're playing, and we're running around our new playground. I should send actually a picture of the clubhouse.
Put it on Instagram.
Have you seen
Twitter.
the club? My kids, I mean, they're really enjoying this, but I think they think that's normal. I'm gonna send y'all a picture on Instagram of the clubhouse, and it's pretty amazing. And then after that, we shut them down. Wife and I, we go having, sometimes in the day I'll go take lunch breaks just to be with her, but then pretty much the last 2 hours of our day. So the kids are all down by 8:30. From 9 to 11, it's me and wifey hanging out, talking about life, talking about things, this, that, or the other. If there's other people in our lives that we need to call, other couples, other friends that we need to just go, it's in that time too. Yeah. And then we shut it down, and then we get up, and it's like
do it all over again.
Yeah, we got to, and it's one of those really good, healthy grinds, and like this is going to be the schedule for this next season. And of course, you don't schedule like that your whole life. You always need to shift it and ebb and flow. But this is going to be the grind for the next season. Why? Well, this is what we got to do. We got some goals set. We got finished the game here, and I'm still traveling around and speak, and I still want to be a great husband and a great father. And so for me to accomplish those goals, I've got to schedule it out. Right. And what I know is that I can't do it till 2 o'clock in the morning. And I've always been a person that can stay up really, really late, but get up by 4:30. I can't do that. Right, you know what I mean? And so I have to cut the night out, cut the night short, and so
and make the sacrifices you need to do what you have to do. It's funny you talk about scheduling and organization and that kind of structure, because someone else who I've heard talk about that is Steve Harvey, and I know you've had some time to spend with Steve. I know you guys know each other, and he talks about how he makes a really tight schedule to get everything he needs to get done. And it's so funny because in essence what it does is it provides a structure to facilitate you achieving those goals, because I mean we can say we're going to do this or do that, but it's something about putting something on paper and really trying to hold yourself accountable to, okay, when I get up, I'm going to make sure that I hit the gym, because if your goal is to lose 15 pounds in the next 2 months, you need to go to the gym, and you need to have that schedule, because if we just leave it open, we may do it one day, may not do it the next day, but it's putting yourself in a structured environment where this is when I'm going to do this and this is when I'm going to do that. It holds you accountable, and if you don't stick to it, that's you. Right. You dropped the ball.
I mean, we got to explain to people, watching other people work out, you ain't going to lose no weight. And
saying I'm going to work out.
And then turning off the Food Network, that don't make you lose weight either. That's not cutting down carbs, Right. You got to get in a schedule, and you got to go to work. And Steve definitely is a person that has a tight schedule. And I believe like some of the greatest athletes, they're not scared to shift it and say, hey, you know what, for me to go be great for this season, I need to get up and do the work. I remember the very first time I got to Alabama and we went through the season, and then that next spring showed up and everybody was like, oh man, wait till we do 6 a.m. So I was like, what are 6 a.m.s? And all of a sudden you hear all the horns beeping, beep, beep, beep. That was the time for everybody in the whole football. We had a football dorm back then. You don't allow that no more. Praise the Lord. But yeah, so you hear the horns, and all the guys would get up, and there'd be like this kind of, we're tired from the older guys, the seniors, you know what I mean? But all the freshmen and sophomores, they were like, man, it's my time to finally be that guy. And it starts now to go let everybody know I'm going to be ready for the season. And it was something that, like, just something inside of me was like, man, I like this. You know what I mean? I'm gonna look like I shot out of a cannon when I'm running these things, and and it shifts when you get a little bit older. But that same hunger is what launches you to greatness.
Wow. You're listening to the Finish the Game podcast. I'm Claude Jennings here with the NFL MVP 2005 Seattle Seahawks, Alabama great Sean Alexander. We're talking about preparing like a champ, like many NFL players and college players are doing right now, preparing for the season. You talked about something, Sean, too, about in your training and in your preparation about you're not going to want to play me in week 1, but you're going to hate me by week 3, and you're going to see me again in week 11 and 12. Yeah. Like part of the preparation, and you talked about seasons, is understanding how long the season is, and training for the long haul, and understanding that so you look at marriage, it's like my wedding day is just that day, a few hours.
Opening game.
It's so right. And so many people prepare, whether it's money, their attention, their time towards that day, and forget that this is for life. You know what I mean? And then even for careers, we plan to get into a certain place in a career, but what are you going to get there and then leave the first time there's some kind of trouble in your department, or the first time you feel like something underhanded happened, and we don't plan for how to stay somewhere for a long period of time. Talk about the preparation for understanding that the season does not begin and end in week 1. Hopefully it goes through January to the Super Bowl, and you got to prepare for that long grind and injuries and all that kind of stuff.
You do, and I think that's also part of this working out. As I walked in there in my sophomore year in high school at Boone County with the Rebels, and from the freshman at University of Alabama, I knew what those records were for the game, but I also knew what the career stats were. Wow. And I wanted to be the best player in Kentucky football history. I knew that I knew some of the people that was there. Yeah, I wanted to be the best running back that ever played at Alabama. And so, I've learned how to never compare. That's the big thing, but I always want to compete. And so I would imagine whoever.
We should do a follow-up show on that one day, like the different, like not get into a comparison trap with other people, but it's okay to compete and try to be the best. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and because the thing is, competing is right now, and once it's over with, it's over. But comparing, it's already happened. Right. You know what I mean? So that would be like somebody saying, well, hey, who's better, you or Marshawn Lynch? Who's better, you or Derrick Henry? No one would ever know. His initials are S.A., by the way. But no one would ever know who's really the best, because that's all comparing. You know what I mean? But whoever was playing with me now, they knew, hey, if you're a running back and you're on my team, I'm not only trying to dominate who I'm playing against, but I'm watching you, and you better know your game better be extremely high, because I'm going to try to make it look like that everybody else is just a backup. Right. And I was like that at every level for my sophomore year, and I played with great running backs at Boone County High School. My freshman year at Bama had 3 great running backs with me there, and then getting to Seattle, I was with Ricky Waters. And I loved Ricky. Ricky was like an older brother and a great mentor. But on that field, I was like, okay, cool. I just checked in for Ricky. How do I make it look like this legend running back, 10,000 yards rushing, 3 or 4 Pro Bowls, maybe even 5, Super Bowl ring? How do I play in such a dominant way that they would want me on the field instead of him?
Right.
That was my goal. And my goal would even get even crazier. We play in games, and I'd be like, okay, who's over there? Marshall Faulk? Okay. Okay, how do I make that team want me instead of Marshall Faulk?
Right.
Let alone he just won the MVP. We're going to ignore that part, you know what I mean? But that's how I was, and I was on the other sideline when Emmitt Smith broke the record for most yards in NFL history. But I tell you what, I want everybody to watch that game and say, yeah, Emmitt broke. Man, that Alexander kid, he went off. That's how I wanted it all the time. And I think you have to have those goals. Right. You have to have those goals, and to prepare for that, you write them down, you look at them. I love those movies where you see the people jot down the goals on their window. You know what I mean? And I still see that today. I was in Seattle's locker room. When I first came back, it must have been 3 years ago, and I walked in there and I saw Russell Wilson, and I saw in there win multiple Super Bowls.
Nice.
He only started a couple games, win multiple Super Bowls. Win this, be the best teammate that we've ever had in this locker room. I'm like, hold on, I'm in this. Okay, I like that. I want guys on my team that their goals are so big and audacious that it makes everybody have to rise to another level.
Yeah, and it also makes you have to rise to another level.
That's right.
When you set those big goals and then you write them down, you see them. But then when you vocalize them to other people, there's an accountability that kind of takes place. It's like, yo, I just said this. Now you feel the pressure, yes, but then also the weight. You know what I mean? The weight of the responsibility to try to achieve it. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing when you shoot, when you have lofty goals and you come up a little bit short. That's fine because you set them and you tried your best. You probably achieved some things you may not have known you could achieve on the way up. But it's another thing to just not set the goals at all and just kind of, exist through life. That's no way to do it. You want to be a champion. And one thing, talking about champions, Kobe retired and received an ESPY in the latest ESPY Awards. And his speech, man, it was Peyton on stage with him, Amy Wambach and Kobe. And one thing Kobe said that I was like, oh, man, I got to text this to Sean because, of course, the theme of the show, by the way, you listen to the Finish the Game podcast, I'm Claude Jennings, he's Sean Alexander, is he said he learned this from his, I think he said 5th grade teacher. He said, rest at the end.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of time to rest at the end. And you talked about seasons, so we're not talking about life. But in this season, or whatever season of life you find yourself in, there'll be time to rest at the end. Right now, it's not the time to rest.
No.
Now's the time to do what you got to do to finish.
Yeah, we got to grind out. I think that's so powerful. Like, why rest? You know what I mean?
Right.
Why rest? What are you saving for? People ask that all to me all the time. Oh, man, Sean, do you wish you could go play one game? And I'm like, I gave everything.
Yeah.
When you watch them films, you see that thing turn on, you're like, yep, he ain't got nothing less. I don't think that there's anything that I could do individually. Now, would I love to win a Super Bowl? Definitely. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, if they had assigned me just to come on there,
so he strapped his helmet on.
I'll come out, run out the tunnel with you.
Give me that ring.
You know what I mean? For the ring. But there's nothing physically that I could do on that field anymore. And I wanted to play every game like that. You know, if you got in the car with me as I was driving home, you would say, oh, man, you're going to sleep so good tonight.
Because you gave it everything you had.
Every time. Like, that's how it is. Like, I would always have a hard time understanding how any player could play the game and not be exhausted afterwards, not be emotionally, mentally, physically just worn out.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you play the game. So when Kobe says, don't save anything, he's talking about during the game. He's talking about after the season's over. When we played in the Super Bowl in 2005 against the Steelers, and I tell everybody, gosh, we had so many secondary guys get hurt. We had Ken Hamlin, who was our hammer safety, and he got hurt off the field doing some things, and then we replaced him with Marquand Manuel, and Marquand, who was like the quarterback back there, he got hurt during the Super Bowl. And it was the one thing, like, we knew he had a hip flexor growing kind of strained. And I just thought to myself, man, like, he goes so hard, we can trust him. But I also knew that I don't think he's going to make it all the way through because he goes so hard. And so once again, we lose the game, and everybody's like, oh, man, we had to swap some secondary guys. And, of course, they break a long run, which is usually someone, the safety is out of position when you break a long run. And then also they threw a reverse pass for a touchdown, which obviously, a safety didn't stay back, so that's, they scored 21 points in the game. The other one, Ben Roethlisberger dives over short of the goal line, and they gave him a touchdown. Anyway, so those are the 3 touchdowns. And when you look at it, you want to say, oh, man, if Marquand, who tackled a guy out of bounds and was just running his feet, and that's when you knew he had re-hurt himself again, you think, oh, well, if he'd have lit up, he might not have hurt himself. But here's the thing about Marquand Manuel. He always could end every game exhausted. And we knew we could count on that. And that's the kind of player you want to be. That's the kind of employee you want to be. That's the kind of husband you want to be. That's the kind of wife. You want to give everything you got in that moment. And whatever happens, it's going to be what happens. We can all look everybody in the eye and say, you gave it your all, didn't you? Yep. Okay. I got you, bro.
That's so strong because, I think whether it's a certain job, if I transition from one job to the next, or one volunteer role to the next in different organizations or churches or anything like that, there's always 2 things that I want to make sure are said at the end of that. And hopefully it encourages somebody today is that, number one, Claude gave his best. Like, he gave everything. Like, he gave it his best. He tried. He wanted success here. And number 2 is that this thing that we have, whatever it is that I'm moving on from or transitioning from, he left it better than it was before. You know what I mean? It's better. It's better off since he's been here. You know what I mean? The whole having him here made it better. And you can only have, again, that kind of mentality when you, like you said, when you have that hunger and that passion to say, I'm going to do my best, and you understand that people rely on you. When you know that people are relying on you, I've never gotten that because sometimes I think it's I think it's something you have naturally, but I also think it's something that's learned, and people can kind of gain that if they don't have it. But sometimes there are folks who know people are dependent on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Know whether it's a father knowing that there's kids who depend on them, knowing that, you know, with a relationship or whatever, that there's someone depending on them, and it just does not cause them to act. Like I don't know how that registers. You know what I mean? You talk about being a great teammate. That's not being a good teammate in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, I feel like when it causes a person to go backwards, it's usually because they're thinking about themselves too much. You know what I mean? They're like, oh man, you got me wanting to show up every time. Oh, what if I let you down?
Yeah.
And I don't think that they don't understand that. You know, using Marquand as the example of Super Bowl, even though we knew his legs and everything was going to be hurt, and we knew he was going to give us it all, we wasn't worried about you letting us down because we knew we was going to get all these guys.
Right.
And so, you know, fathers, young students, I know like this is, you know, especially college age guys, you know, cheating on tests, that's not the way to go. What happens is you pass a class, but you actually learn a very crooked way of thinking that if you cheat, you didn't let everybody down, but you actually set yourself up to fail miserably because you might get into a situation where there's no way to cheat.
Right.
And you're used to, oh, well, at least I didn't let them down. That's not really the thing. The thing is, I'm going to give you all I got.
Yeah.
And,
no, that's huge because for me in school, it wasn't necessarily cheating. But what it was, I didn't necessarily give 100% to academics because it was like, I think I can do enough to get a C or a B. I'll pass through with a couple. Right. And that was my attitude. I'll be fine with getting by. But what eventually had happened, and I'm glad I caught it in my late teens, early 20s, was that it caused me then to have that same mentality with work. You know what I mean? That I would do enough to, you know, for the bosses to kind of notice. You know what I mean? And yeah, they'll stick you around, figure your point, but then I try to coast. And then it's like, no, you know what? I just grew to a point where I wasn't satisfied with that anymore. It's like, yo, you can achieve great things. Like, put your mind to it and do it, you know?
Yeah, you know what? I laugh because my bride, she always, we got married and it was her senior year of college. And we were young. And young and in love. Young and in love. Hit the music. Dun, dun, dun. But, you know, it was one of those things where when we got married, she was like, oh, okay, I'm going to take this semester off. And so now, as she went back to school, I would like always like checking her, like, oh, what's up with this class or what's up with that? And she was like, man, like, you were on me so hard that I realized that I had to read all the books because you over here talking about, you know, I like school, you know, you know, so you over here really quizzing me, and I'm over here got to find the answers to get to be with you know. And I said, and she said, yeah, now I realized something. I'm way smarter than I thought I was.
Right.
She was like, yeah, you know, and so we used to laugh about that all the time because I think that with the right pressure, if you accept it, it will grow you up to be something greater. And I always want to challenge people, like, accept the challenge to make you greater. Now, I'm not talking about, well, you need to get straight A's because, you know, your brother got straight A's, or you need to get straight A's because I want you to get straight A's.
Right.
You got to figure that out in your own self.
That's that comparison and expectation thing that we've talked about before that you could just kind of put to the side.
But what I'm saying is, what's wrong with you being great?
Right.
You know, like, have you set that in your mind? Like, I'm going to be great and I'm going to give you all I got. And if all I got is getting to the top of the mountain, then that's what you get, you know? And I feel like there's a lot of people that have learned how to climb just high enough where they could see above the clouds, and they didn't even think about getting to the top of the mountain, and it was possible.
Wow. Well, you know what's definitely going to happen? The Finish the Game podcast is going to get to the top of the mountain. I'm Claude Jennings. He's Sean Alexander. We're talking about preparing like a champ. And I guess as we end the podcast for today, Sean, some teams are getting ready to go to camp. We're going to have some great guests lined up too, by the way, during the football season. Man, we're going to talk a lot of football and encourage folks. I'm
really excited. I mean, gosh, you know, can we tell them about next week?
Yeah, why not, man?
It's going to be fun. One of my good friends, a very close friend of yours, one of the greatest athletes ever to come out of Maryland, the Matha High School's finest. You all don't know him like we know him. I met him through Fox Sports when he was doing Fox Sports football, but he came on over to New York and is now doing with CBS. He is not the Godfather of Soul, but they carry the same name.
JB, James Brown, man, that's going to be so much fun. I mean, just a super smart, super kind, and super generous guy, man. And I've got a JB story. I'm going to talk to him first. Maybe I'll share it
save it for next week.
With the next podcast. I'll save it for next week. But that's going to be so much fun, man. Super positive and encouraging, great man of God. And so it's going to be great to have him on.
No, he is. He's soul brother number one. He's really cool, man. Well, we're out of time. Hey, everybody, again, Patrick Henry College, congratulations. Everybody that's listened to the show, thank you all for listening. Y'all make sure you climb all the way to the top of the mountain, and let's finish the game.
Finish the game. Yeah.